Welcome. Great to have you here. This is a unique moment, a moment that unites all of us. We all face anxiety and loss. We all see broken systems. We all experience the impact of the climate crisis. This is a unique moment. This is a turning point if we choose to make it one. This is a moment to reflect, to learn, to share, and to co-create. And I invite you to contribute. I ask you to contribute. I ask you to partner to fix broken systems. I ask you to join the movement so everyone can step into their change-making power. I ask you to nominate the next generation of changemakers. And I ask you to share your wisdom, your knowledge, your expertise. And I ask you to donate to support changemakers. This is our moment to fix the world. This is our moment to contribute. Today is the day, and you are the one.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're connecting from, and welcome to this session about the Ashoka Support Network. The Ashoka Support Network has been mentioned many times in the last 3 days, and some members were speakers, many have been active contributors, and this session is about them and what we do together, enabling Ashoka and our fellows to be more impactful. My name is Emily Romand, and I'm delighted to be your host and moderator for the next hour. I'm co-leading the Ashoka Support Network globally, together with Anna Dubois, who you'll meet in a minute, and Julia Reiche, who is with us in the chat. You've heard from Marie in the video and from many speakers in the last 3 days why we invite you to become part of the change, part of a movement to empower everyone to be a change maker, a historic moment to build a new collective future by working together for it. You've heard and discussed in the last 3 days the what. What is this world we want to build together? What changes need to happen? What social innovations are addressing the most pressing challenges that we're facing? This session is about the how. How can you contribute? How can you help scale social innovations? How can you become a change maker yourself? That's what we're going to explore, and explore why we think the Ashoka Support Network might be the answer, the way to be certain to have an impact. How are we going to do that? Well, first, we'll have a brief introduction about the ASN, short for Ashoka Support Network. What is it exactly? What can you get out of it? Second, we'll hear from our fellows firsthand, those who work with our Ashoka Support Network members. And third, we'll hear from themselves, from our ASNs. And you'll have the chance to ask them your questions directly, thanks to the chat. It is my pleasure to give a warm welcome to 3 ASN members joining me for this discussion. Willie B from the US, calling it early from Los Angeles. Thank you, Willie. Eric Kwan from France, and Delphine Mousseau from Germany. Maite Arango, who was initially going to join us too, had to step down to attend to a personal situation, but she's with us in thoughts. Before we get to that, and because we've had 3 full days behind us, we'd like to invite you to pause for a minute, and Anna is going to guide us through it. Anna, over to you.
Thank you, Emily. Hello, everyone, and welcome again. We're going to do this the Ashoka way, so I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and take one deep breath. One more, in through the nose. And please have one deep breath more. And while we are at this, here, thinking back to 3 very hectic days, grasping the opportunity of connecting virtually and using a platform to overcome the distance that this situation, this pandemia is throwing onto us. We're aware also that we're writing emails and we're watching sessions and we are multitasking. So we just want you to stop and to pause and to reflect on the 3 days that we've had together. This might be the last session for some of you. So we thank you for being here. And I would like to invite you to think, what was the moment that made you realize that you wanted to become part of the change? Who is that person? When was that revelation? And without sending, please, in a minute, write it down in the chat. And by the time I ask you to send, please all together submit your answers so we can see the reality. No? What is that moves us? We can now open our eyes. Thank you for that moment. And then I invite you to go into the chat. I hope more relaxed and more in the moment, and share that moment, that thought. Please go ahead and start writing in the chat. And on the count of 3, please send. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for sharing all these moments. I think it would be just therapy to read them all out loud and have your visions and those revelations. So thank you for sharing. It's very generous of you. And we just ask you to hold on to that feeling while we listen to what we have prepared. Back to you, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. I hope you all feel grounded and connected and ready to jump in that session. I'll now hand over to my dear colleague Alex Mitians, who leads Ashoka in Spain, and who will tell us a bit more about the ASN.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Anna, for this beautiful start. I wish we had done this in every single session before. I volunteered to join for a few minutes and share what is the ASN, because I'm a huge fan of the Ashoka Support Network, because I've been able to see the profound impact that it has on Ashoka and on its fellows, but also on the ASN members itself. So I'm a huge believer of the initiative, because I've seen through my experience in the last 5 years how impactful it is, no, in all of our lives. So if I can share maybe the why, no, and you've been part of the summit for these past days. Ashoka is building together with many of you a world where many of us self-identify as change makers and use that power to change the world. And of course, that involves everyone, not only the fellows, the young change makers, but also companies, philanthropists, young people, governments. And so in that spirit, the Ashoka Support Network was created to unleash the changemaker potential from people who could contribute to Ashoka in different ways. The network was founded 15 years ago, I believe, in 2004 in France, by a group of extraordinary leaders who are still part of the network now, and who I personally thank after all of these years for for building something so transformative as the ASN. And today it's a global network of 350 or more than 350 leaders from all around the world who contribute to Ashoka financially and strategically in order to grow its impact, right? At the design of the experience of the ASN, it aims to be a transformative journey for both the ASN and their surroundings, but also Ashoka and its fellows and all its network. So in the design principles of the initiative, you have transformation at many levels, no? And like we do with fellows, our objective with ASNs is to be able to scale their impact, to scale their social impact. So it's both a give and take initiative, no? ASN members give us a lot to Ashoka, because without them we would not be able to deliver our impact, but also they take a lot from the network. And there's a word in Spanish that we usually use, which I do not have a translation in English, which is a mecenas, no? They are the guardians of the heritage of Ashoka in a way, and they criticize Ashoka. They give us also very positive feedback. So they are somehow our board members of the vision of Ashoka. And of course, they all breathe, no, the ethical fiber that we look for in our members. And so we do a due diligence process in all our members to make sure there's that ethical fiber alignment. Practically speaking, what does the ASN mean? There's a double contribution. On one side, a financial contribution of minimum 10,000 euros annually to Ashoka, and these are unrestricted funding. And then on one side, it's a contribution of time. Time in the shape of contacts, in the shape of ideas. They are part of our interviews that we do to our fellows. They are part of our advisory boards. In Spain, also we have 2 ASN members, including the chair of our board, Maite Arango, who are really shaping, no, the future of our organization. And so that time commitment is very important, and it fluctuates, no, throughout the life of the ASN member, because we understand time is sometimes even more precious than money. So we understand the different life moments. And what can you get out of the Ashoka Support Network? And I would love to hear Eric, Willy, and Delphine share what they took out of the initiative. But I think first, a very efficient and profound social return on the investment, because as most of you know, Ashoka is into the system change type of impact, and that is a very efficient type of impact where you tip into very efficient levers of impact. That on one side. The second side to me is knowledge and learnings. I think Ashoka is sitting on a gold mine of learnings and teachings on how the world works and where the world is going. And so being able to be an Ashoka Support Network allows you to learn about those trends and innovations. Also, there's a side on contacts with like-minded people with whom you would probably not cross in different networks. So I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of the ASN. And also legacy, no? Legacy, if you have a family foundation, if you have kids, if you have organizations, we also focus very much on the legacy part. And so I invite you all to get to know the network better, to get to know Ashoka. And I remember I told Luis Bonet, who I'm sure is here once, I told him, the ASN network will change your life. And he said, well, now 3 years after he joined, he said, I'm not sure if it changed my life, because that's a big word, but it was surely one of the very transformative experiences of my life. So with that in mind, I invite you all to discover more about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex, for demonstrating so well the power of the ESN. As we've heard, many ESN members not all, but many, work with our fellows directly. So we've asked them the questions directly. What do they get out of that collaboration? What is the value that ESN members bring to them, to their organizations? And we've compiled their answers in a short video put together by a 14-year-old change maker, and over to them, fellows from Latin America, Southeast Asia, Europe, Africa, Ashoka staff. It's a nice sample, you'll see.
I believe that Ashoka Support Network is an invaluable resource for anyone who is willing to expand and scale their impact as well as grow themselves.
And I was given the chance to pitch for 15 minutes in front of all of the ASNers, and within those 15 minutes I met the 6 investors that invested in Bridge for Billions. All of them have supported me in different ways, having access to new markets because of where they are located, having access to corporate partners.
I had the great opportunity to work with Delphine Mousseau from the Ashoka Support Network, and I did a pitch training with her. And since then, I'm much better in presenting myself and in bringing my message to the point.
I'm working with 2 Ashoka Support Networkers. It's really supporting me as a human being, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, and is supporting us as an organization.
So I feel very proud for having Willy on board, literally.
My Kodak has been like an incredible support at that time to help me create the management guidelines, the strategic perspective, the management of this growth.
In the 9 years I've been with Ashoka, there's been numerous situations where I just needed that outside perspective, or that expertise in a field that I have no clue about, or that connection to a network that I am not yet connected to. And it's always been supportive and trusting ASN members who provided all of that.
So the whole mentorship, guidance, as well as resources that came with ASN, that is something that is irreplaceable and something that I've never found in any other mentorship as well as network that I've been part of so far.
And that's the great thing with Ashoka Support Network. High expertise, huge experiences, and a contribution exactly to the need of us fellows.
Emmanuel Ertier, he's our advisor, our investor, and many times I say he's my psychologist on call.
When I met Will, it was kind of love at first sight.
And I can say that this relationship is also becoming a sort of friendship.
The ASNers are business leaders that believe that through systemic change we can change the world for a better.
I hope that the ASN just keeps growing in volume and evolving in depth and in this quality of amazing people that it gathers.
And I would highly recommend ASN to people who want to give back, who want to be part of a great network, but also people who want to be connected and skill themselves up.
I can only encourage everybody who is in a position that he has or she has special knowledge and time and expertise that you want to invest to create impact, to become an Ashoka Support Networker.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, after these heartwarming messages, and some of our ASNers have worked with the fellows in the video, and that's not a coincidence. We wanted to get the 2 sides of the mirror in a way. I'm sure you understand why at Ashoka we consider ASN members close allies, as my colleague Laura explained it well, and why we view the ASN as a sister community to our fellowship, both being extremely complementary and both being needed to create an everyone a changemaker world. So if you already have questions, please go ahead and make use of the chat, and I will pick them up and bring them to the panel. And I would also like ASN members, I know some of them are listening in the audience, to share the highlights and personal takeaways in the chat as well. Let's now move to this session's pièce de résistance, or main course, our panel of fantastic ESN members. Delphine, Willy, Eric, thank you so much for being with us today and for accepting to share your experience. I'd like to start with an introduction round. Could you please introduce yourselves briefly and tell us how long have you been part of the ESN? Why did you join in the first place, and how this initial expectation was met? Delphine, would you like to start?
Sure. So my name is Delphine, like a dolphin. I'm actually French, but I'm feeling a citizen of Europe, and I'm based in Berlin. Right now I'm in Frankfurt traveling, so I hope it's going to work out here in this hotel lobby. I'm an extrovert, and I love working with people and being with people, driving teams, but also connecting people. And that may be the reason why I've got 4 kids. I love being around a lot of people. My area of expertise is digital, and I've worked more than 20 years in e-commerce. So I joined Ashoka in 2018. At that time, I had been already working for several years for the company Zalando that you know have been very successful. And it was a time where my stock option package arrived to the vesting time. So I was lucky enough to have quite some money at my hand. And I've made that commitment with myself to give 15% of my net income to donations. So I really encourage people, by the way, to think about how they want to handle money. For me, it's been very freeing to decide that part of my work was also the contribution I could make to the world. So suddenly my budget for donation was much bigger, and I didn't know where to spend that budget. And I had a cousin who had been part of Ashoka as a fellow in France, and I connected with Ashoka in Germany. And this is basically where I decided I wanted to put both my money, but also my knowledge and expertise and this willingness to connect and move and change the world. So getting closer to the organization really made me decide to go for this and to involve myself for the 3 years commitment and get involved.
Thanks, Delphine. Impressive, 15% of net income. It's not everyone who makes such commitments.
I mean, you can start slow, which I'm saying to my kids, start with 2 or 3%, whatever you think is workable, but you realize that you will have never enough money. So if you said you're good with 90% or 95%, and then you go slower every year to a higher amount. And it's freeing. I'm just saying it's very freeing.
Thanks, Delphine. How about you, Willy?
Of course. First of all, thank you again for the invitation. It's a privilege to be here. I will say that, so I've been with Ashoka ASN 4 years now. And the first thing I will convey is that I encourage everyone, not only of course to join, but to try multiple things within the Ashoka platform. And that's exactly what I did. In my first year, I attended a Changemaker Education Summit. I wanted to understand what Ashoka does for change making, if you will, and specifically in education. Understand the empathy work. So that was an incredible experience that first year. And then I started working with fellows, which to me is the key aspect of Ashoka. And before landing this last fellowship, if you will, or connecting with the last fellow that we'll talk about, which is Alterna, I worked with other fellows as well. And so I was part of the selection panel in Los Angeles for Ashoka Fellows in 2020. Just recently was invited to the ASN Global team. So Ashoka has so many things to offer. And again, I encourage people that are considering the ASN to again try all of these aspects of Ashoka. Why did I join? Well, it's to me, I've been with my entire career in business overall from a for-profit standpoint, and that's what I mean. So I've been a consultant and also worked in product development for startups, always in the United States. And it only takes, I think, an individual to start paying attention to what's happening in the world, because in my early years, it started as a shareholder capitalism, if you will, but now it's really stakeholder capitalism. As things evolve, you see all of these changes taking place in the world and the inequalities going on. So from my standpoint, I said, yes, I'm working with entrepreneurs, I'm working with startup accelerators in the United States, always for profit. And I was always feeling that something was missing, right? And what that is essentially impact, sustainability, trying to reduce the inequalities that exist. And so first thing that I did was start talking to my network as to what are the organizations out there. Ashoka is the #1 organization in my mind, the hub of social entrepreneurship and impact. And so it was good for me anyway to find that a few extended family members had joined Ashoka before me. I contacted them and contacted other ASNs, by the way. And after talking to them briefly, I mean, it was an immediate decision on my mind to say, I need to join the ASN to fulfill some of these other areas that I want to work on. And that was my reason.
Thank you, Willie. I think you put the finger on something we hear a lot, this quest for purpose, quest for impact, that many ASN members are after and hopefully find through Ashoka. How has it been for you, Eric?
Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm very happy to be with you. I realized seeing you young people that I am very old in this audience. I'm 60 years old and I'm married with 4 children and already 3 grandchildren. I live in Paris. I'm confined also with this pandemic. I work for an investment company. His name is Raise, and I'm in charge of the Impact Fund. My professional life is 20 years as an entrepreneur, not a social entrepreneur, but a real one. I mean, they are all real entrepreneurs, and 20 years as an investor. And in fact, I had my Ashoka, what I call my Ashoka revelation in 2004. When I met Olivier Kayser, he was at this time leaving McKinsey to launch Ashoka in France and in Europe. I just felt that he was touching something very, very intelligent. And I remember this year of 2004 as a real revelation. So I became to grab and to try to understand. I had a dinner with Bill Drayton, which is a great honor for me. And in fact, Olivier Kayser was looking for 1.5 million donation, and I said I'm not rich enough, but I can we can fund 50 people who can give at least 10 million euro during 3 years. So maybe we can do that. And in fact, it was the beginning of the Ashoka Support Network, and it is said that I'm one of the two first Ashoka Support Network member in 2004. And the reason why I'm still here 16 years after is that it's really part of my life, and I'm still taking a lot, and I still have a lot of contribution and learnings from the fellows I met, from the organization, from all the inspiring it gave me. And in fact, it has really changed my life. And I will maybe explain that a bit later. It's kind of a little teasing for you.
Well, it's a very good teasing to jump on, and I'm very curious. And yeah, you did, as we were preparing for this session, that Ashoka shaped the way you are today at every level. I'm very curious to understand what it means a bit more. I mean, Willie, like the way Willie talks about it, it makes it sound like a candy shop, and that's so many years later, you're still finding candies to eat and enjoy. It's beautiful, and I would love to understand how it shaped you at every level.
You want me to tell it now? All right. Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
In fact, it has changed my life in two ways. First, in my mindset, because I do love entrepreneurs since I'm very young, and I love business, and I think it's a fantastic playground. But I was also very much concerned by social and environmental issues. But it was with the philanthropic approach, and it was two different playgrounds. And with Ashoka, in fact, I discovered that there was no distinction, that it was possible to create businesses for good with a business model. And it was the revelation for me. And I think I'm still now believe in this capacity of combining philanthropy and business to make the things change. At these times, it was not at all in fashion. I mean, social entrepreneurs was kind of, it was not a concept. It was, I used to help entrepreneurs to begin their businesses. But I think it was already very difficult to make it with profit, but make a new business addressing social and environmental issues. It was, for me, really, really new, very innovative. And in fact, it was my revelation. And so at this time, we invited a lot of fellows from abroad, and it was very inspiring for me. But I was thinking, we cannot have such kind of entrepreneurs in Europe. It's not possible. They will look for profit. They will not look for impact. And I remember the first one I met is Jean-Michel Ricard from Ciel Bleu. And I said, okay, so he's taking care of aging people with sport for aging people. It was at this time there were 20 in their association, and today there are more than 600 people. And for this first meet with Jean-Michel was the confirmation that it is possible to find such kind of crazy entrepreneurs which can believe so much in changing the life and changing the world. So in fact, it was the change I had in my mindset. And in fact, for those who are hesitating, when you will meet some fellows, and maybe you've met during the three days. But in fact, among the criteria, are they innovative? Are they creating things that could be duplicate their entrepreneurship and so on? What is most important for me is a systemic approach. Does it really change the way things are done? Where is exactly the change? And in fact, it has so much inspired me that I decided to have the systemic approach in my job. And I decided to change the way I was investing toward impact businesses looking for systemic approach. And in fact, it has been a move in my professional life. And in fact, that's the way I was asked 2 years ago to join Raise. It's fantastic. I've never been a salary. I mean, I was always on my own business, and this is the first time close to my 60 years to become a salary in an organization. And now I'm in charge of the impact fund, which is 150 million euro assets under management, and we definitely have search businesses which involve systemic change, and that's what Ashoka teach me. I just, to finish, would like to say that if you have time, you should read the systemic and empowering social. Forgive me, the study which has been done, at the beginning of the year, which name is Embracing Complexity Towards a Shared Understanding of Funding System Change. And the system change is really something that should inspire most of you.
Thanks, Eric. And the topic of funding systems change has been a major one across the 3 days. And I know that Delphine cares about it a lot as well, and that systemic change and this lens has influenced you. and influence your business approach. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so as you were mentioning, I think part of joining Ashoka is around contributing, so having purpose. And when I joined Ashoka, my first thing was, oh, let's give back, you know, like spend some time. And I'm very involved with female empowerment, so I wanted to help female fellow, as you've seen on the video. And I've been trying to use my skill set and give it back to the community. And I think what has been interesting in this adventure is that I've met a lot of fellows, and I realized they had something common. They were having a completely different approach to their problem solving. And I wanted to understand more, so I joined a training on system change. And that changed really my approach to the business. So really this idea of system change is looking beyond the symptoms, you know, of what you see. So, you know, people are hungry, you feed them. You're going into not only telling them how to, you know, fish for the fish, but also understanding if the regulation is right, you know, are the water safe, you know, like going really wider and wider, understanding the dynamic of the system. And for me, that has been really a game changer, because I realize this framework, I can also use it in everything I do in business. So of course, in social business, it's at the heart. But when you're looking at what the businesses are going through right now, which is putting the purpose much higher, you know, you've got in French this regulation around entreprise à mission, which is basically putting the mission at the heart of the company. Everyone is looking at their business with a different angle, because customers are asking for sustainability, diversity approach, you know, and putting purpose at the top. So actually, I think what I've learned at Ashoka is, of course, supporting business for good, but I think it's also making business good. And I think if you're able to learn from social entrepreneurs and bringing back to for-profit, it's really going to make the change in the world even stronger. So it's been really a very enriching adventure.
Yeah, and that it's all about, and thanks to you, we get to instill this systemic view into the private sector. So thank you, Delphine, and all of you who are doing similar things. Turning back to you now, closing this second loop, we've heard in the video from a fellow that you've been working with closely, Daniel Burbinder from Guatemala. And I would love to understand how the experience has been for you on your end. Daniel speaks of love at first sight. Was it a reciprocated love?
Yes, Emily, thank you. Of course, I mean, and I will explain just the inside details of the relationship and why we have aligned essentially, you know, goals, values, interests, especially with Daniel and his organization, which is called Alterna. Bottom line, before even going into that detail, I will say that again, I work with several fellows with Ashoka, and every fellow again was not only doing systemic change, which is incredible to see, but showing top level leadership overall. So the quality of fellows at Ashoka really surprised me initially, because again, I was not privy to that. Having said that, I will describe briefly what Alterna does. So as I said, I have been involved for profit almost always, doing consulting, but also working with accelerators of small businesses and startups in the technology sector. This is in the United States. Now, Alterna is a social entrepreneurship accelerator. And so from that standpoint, we have a complete alignment, right? So I moved simply from for-profit entrepreneurs to social entrepreneurs of so-called triple impact, right? The economic impact, the social, the environmental impact. And so they're already working on Central America in terms of the region, right? To empower the small and growing businesses, if you will, to provide a platform for small and growing businesses to get support, to get aid. And so like I mentioned, it was a complete alignment of goals and values. And so I have been with Alterna for 3 years now. This is my third year, and working at the board level. So I'm involved with great board members as well. So the experience of not only being in the details, if you will, of the Alterna organization, but being also a member of the board and able to guide the strategy and the scale up, because again, Alterna is right now trying to scale in the entire region. So it has been fantastic. And the other thing that Alterna does, which is again just to me wonderful, is they host on an annual basis a Latin America Impact Investing Forum. And it focused in Central America, of course, but it's the broader Latin America. So it brings stakeholders from all over, right? The government, non-government organizations. It brings in, obviously, entrepreneurs. It brings in ASNs. It brings in people that are interested in helping the movement, if you will, of social entrepreneurship in the region. So it is Alterna is really very much a center of what I've been trying to do and I've been doing for profit side. So it was, like I said, love at first sight from an organization standpoint, and love at first sight with the leadership that Alterna has.
We can feel your energy and this almost love, yeah, for that organization and for the work that they're doing. Thank you, Willie. As we're in the topic of fellows, and I saw in the chat that the questions are more directed towards Ashoka, and my colleagues are taking care of them. Thank you very much. I'm going to continue and turning to you, Delphine, asking you, like you mentioned that your topic in a sense is female empowerment, and that you worked with several fellows. Is there one in particular that you feel close to, and why? And it doesn't mean that you don't like the other ones at all. It's not picking your favorite child. Is there one that comes to mind?
Yeah, so I think I've been indeed building relationship with different fellows and really appreciate the different character. I agree with Willie. There is a very strong sense of leadership in all those fellows, and I think it's their own motivation for their project, but it's also their qualities really as being able to bring across, what they're working for. One fellow which is really impressive for this is Christina Luns from CFFP, so Center for Female Foreign Policy. I think what is really impressive with her is really her ability to put this feminist approach, but with really both strength and gentleness. She's been really moving the lines in terms of foreign policy. It's a very male-dominated environment, and in the end, she's fighting for diversity and fighting for peace. So, the project is really genuine. And I think working closer with her, I really got to understand the extent of their work. And I think there is great progress being made. So I think this is one of the fellow that I think is quite impressive from this leadership, drive, and results.
Thanks, Delphine. Christina is doing amazing work indeed. And as again we're talking about fellows, I wanted to come back to you, Eric, because you've had quite an interesting experience, which I don't think many ASNers have had, which is you've actually done it. You've got your hands dirty and worked for a fellow. And with a fellow being co-director or for several months. And I find it interesting, an Ashoka fellow I work with here in Switzerland, I would like to create a platform for investors and social entrepreneurs to swap roles for 6 months to enhance empathy on both sides. And you've done it. How was it?
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience. I used to say that it was a MBA for me, because I learned so much things working with. It was with Ticket for Change, and the Ticket for Change is a way to give sense to a job for young people and who wants to become social entrepreneurs. And I used to say that this is a fabric of Ashoka Fellow. And really some will become Ashoka Fellows, I'm sure about that. So it creating vocations. And I was in the board of Ticket for Change, and the lady who is in charge, who is managing the company, said, I'm pregnant, I will have to leave the company for 6 months. And around the table, they said, we should find someone to take her place during this time. And they told me, just for laughing, they said, hi, Eric, what would you see? We would need someone like you. And I said, let me think about that, because I was between 2 projects. And I said, why not? And so it has been for me a wonderful experience, because I can really say that Mathieu Dardaillon is an incredible entrepreneur with a very high level of leadership, as you said, and in fact, and a lot of ambition. A lot of so it was really for me, as I said, I can maybe show you that, but in fact I have my diploma from Ticket for Change. I didn't think about that, but they gave me that MBA Ticket for Impact, and because we were trying to create a social business school, and so it was a fantastic experience, and it has helped me to come back to leading a team afterwards. So it was really a fantastic experience, and if you can do it, just do it.
Well, thank you for this memory and souvenir that you have. I love the certificates from fellows to Ashoka Support Network members. It's a great idea. We should make it a general practice. On a slightly different topic, I wanted to come back to something you said at the very beginning, Willie, about Ashoka's vision of empathy and everyone a change maker. How do you relate to that vision? How do you see it playing out with social entrepreneurship?
Without a doubt, Emily. So as all of us are saying it out loud, there is change, systemic change going on everywhere in the world right now. And one of the things that I'm learning, not only by being part of the ASN, but working with these fellows, is that especially in emerging markets, there is systems change needed it has been needed for a long time. And so what that essentially means is that all stakeholders need to get involved, right? And when we say systemic change, it's non-government organizations, it's government, it's the public, it's businesses, obviously. And so all stakeholders have to get involved. And the other thing is that in many of these markets, again, you need to create, simply from a systems and business standpoint, you need to create many times the entire supply chain, the entire value chain. You're thinking to solve a problem, but it's really every other part, a component that is also missing. So again, things are happening, and the other thing that I must also mention here is that there's so much capital, so much money out there ready to be invested. And for that, I mean that the capital that is being deployed on businesses, on projects worldwide, is looking for impact, is looking for sustainability, is looking for these types of social entrepreneurs. So that is changing so fast that we need more and more people to support these social entrepreneurs and to bring capital together with these social entrepreneurs and to bring advisors such as ASNs on board to be able to not only make connections but help and support the endeavors. So the way I see it, you mentioned empathy, you mentioned change making. It's happening all around us, and it is all a matter of getting involved, and that's what I did.
Thank you, Willie. And it's great to hear how ASN members can also be a force for change making and really play a key stakeholder role in that world that we are building. And what I really liked listening to you is we can hear the different postures the different roles an ASN members can play, because some, like you've been very hands-on, most of you, especially you, Eric, the full-time job for 6 months, but you can also be just a philanthropist and committing some of your money, because being part of this change, you can be a mentor and work with fellows. You can be a learner, and that's something that all of you have highlighted, how much you've learned and taken from all these experiences. And you can be a co-creator and work with and co-create with fellows, with Ashoka, to scale social innovations. I don't know if there are any burning questions from the chat to stop me, Anna. Otherwise, I would like to invite all of you for a last round sharing, like a message or something that you haven't had the chance to express yet, and would like to share with the audience. I'm not sure who would like to start. Any volunteer? Yeah, Delphine, go for it.
So I would say, if you cannot stop your work and dedicate your life to change making, I think really consider how your work can help fund entrepreneurs and get involved yourself. So your learning help you change the way you do your work. And that will help really change the world.
Beautiful. Eric, I see you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I would say also donate, because in fact, this is really impactful, and it also makes you happy. It is proven that donating is giving you happiness. So do it really.
It is true. Altruism brings you a lot back. Willie?
Yes, having, I think if we all hear the same thing here, and knowing that change is happening everywhere, really, literally, the only path forward is making the connections, making the right connections, sharing your information, sharing your expertise, collaborating with others to specifically go for impact sustainability goals. So again, connections, information sharing, collaboration, I encourage everyone to do so. It's the only path forward. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind. There's no question in my mind.
Thank you very much. Very nice last words. And thank you all of you for sharing these beautiful memories and insights. I'd like for all of us and all of you in the audience to take a moment to reflect on what we've just heard and discussed. And Anna, will pass it on over to you again.
Thank you, Emily. We wanted again to take a moment, not only because of the session that we've just listened to and enjoyed, and appreciate the learnings that we've had, but also just to stop, just to learn to breathe from time to time. It has been a true therapy for me, and we just want to thank you, and we take with us all your inspiration and all your messages that mostly are not questions, apart from the ones that we've been able to answer in the chat, but are really supporting and encouraging messages. So it's an energy that we want to keep with us. Thank you for being here. Emily, back to you.
Fantastic. And I see nice testimonies and stories coming in the chat as well. We're getting to the end of this session, and again, a warm thank you to the great panel, and from all of us at Ashoka, an even warmer thank you, Delphine, Willie, and Eric, for your support. The fellows in the video were right. Your contribution is priceless, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be working with you on a daily basis almost. Thank you all as well who have been participating and listening in through Swapcard. I hope the session has opened your appetite, answered some of your questions, brought clarity on why the ASN can enable you to be part of the change. And I do hope it's leaving you energized, curious to know more, and perhaps even ready to join or apply for the Ashoka Support Network. We would like to, we'd love to hear from you in any case. Please contact us for any questions, to receive materials, to be connected to your local ASN managers at the country level, either by email, and we'll post our emails in the chat, or through the ASN exhibitor, through swap cards. There are many ways. I would also like to invite all those of you who are already members of the Ashoka Support Networks to join a new online platform that we are launching. It's called We Changers, and we'll post the links in the chat. Although the platform is called Ashoka Europe, it's for all of ESN, and it's the tool that we've been waiting for to connect the whole Ashoka community. So we're gonna first start small, creating a discussion space that will evolve gradually and enabling you to test and to become familiar with the platform through this Ashoka Support Network channel. We will start building an Ashoka Support Network global directory so that you can connect and share experiences among you across countries, but also receive engagement opportunities, invitations to events, and other relevant information. So that we're gonna launch gradually, and through other channels and groups, you'll have the ability to check out fellows, again, from across countries and regions, match their needs, and bring together Ashoka communities at the national level. So thank you again. I recommend that you now join the community reflection session on what bring us a certainty. It's not the last one of the summit, but it will certainly, bring some sense of closure. Enjoy the end of the summit, and bye-bye.
Thank you.